Nexxlegacy.
Welcome one, welcome all, welcome the entire universe. Today is going to be a good day just for the simple fact that, we have a guy. I wanted to talk to this man ever since I started hearing a lot of classic, unreleased death row music that's been coming out lately, and I wanted to make sure that I send a warm welcome to my man John Payne, president of Death Row Records. Mr. Payne.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for the warm welcome. I'm glad to be here, man.
You know what? It's kind of I've always wanted to talk to you because the questions that I do have it's always been on my mind because with the history that's attached to Death Row Records and the music that's attached to it as well. It came at a time when, and I'm pretty sure you know this as well. It's a lot of history with not just the artist that was on Death Row, but also the music. So finding out and knowing that there was so much unreleased songs and music out there, I always used to think, man, when is this stuff going to ever come out, if it ever comes out? So here you are right now in 2012, basically just, shaking the tree, so to speak, and putting out some of this classic music. What was your main goal and your purpose for letting the people revisit some of this history with the catalog?
Well, the main reason and my main purpose is the fact that it's, kind of reminding people that Death Row was a lot more versatile. It went well beyond just Snoop, Pac, and Dre. Believe me, they were very important to the label, but any record that was done on Death Row, whether it was Dre, Snoop, or Pac, there was always a lot of people, a lot of names associated with it, from producers to writers to rappers to just people being around. So when you look at the fact that most of these people were actually signed at Death Row and they should have come out, it kind of gives you a history, and it also lets you know where some of the flavor on some of the records came from, where you can hear like a certain hook or a tone in someone's voice or a certain phrase or even the way they wrote. It's just, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that there was other people involved, and you know what, I want to make sure that everybody gets their fair look or listen to Death Row. There's a lot of stuff in the vault. Death Row recorded from 1992 to 2006. So there's an endless amount of things, but it's just a lot of these people I've known since the beginning, and they are my friends, and I know what they've done. But in all fairness, it's okay to not just focus on three artists when there's a whole lot of deserving artists on the label. So that was really my intent. And also, and again, it's something you got to give something to the fans. We don't want to continually recycle the same old stuff, but make it more versatile. Try to give them more than what they were getting.
So, when you acquired the rights to the music from Death Row, did you see it as more than just a catalog and you releasing a lot of unreleased music? Do you see something a lot deeper with just everything that is, the classic sounds of Death Row Records? Because as a fan first, man, I mean, every time that I hear, I was listening to Doggy Bag that was released by you guys and listening to just the old lyrics, and it brings back that nostalgic, that it kind of has that time capsule where it was just like, everything that was everything from 92 to 95, 96 kind of throws you right back into that lane. And especially, my opinion about the music industry, I need some stuff like that. I need that change of pace, so to speak. So.
No, I agree with you. The industry really hasn't evolved as well as it should, but fortunately we're lucky enough to have a lot of material from that era. One of the reasons why we did what we did was not just to expose the music to people, but also I want to make sure that these people put all this hard work in, and it's 20 years later. I want to make sure that also that they're getting paid. They're going to get royalties on because they helped to make some really extremely good records, some historical records. So it's time to make sure that they get acknowledged, whether it's by people knowing who they are and listening to them, and also acknowledged with a royalty check. The Doggy Bag was very good. It came out the vault. It was some stuff that people hadn't heard, and it was some alternative versions, but it took you right back to that era. And and the good thing about it is you felt good, you enjoyed it, but, Death Row at one point had an extremely negative image. You did not even think, you didn't go there, you just went to this music is good. I feel this. Unfortunately, music today is letting us down a little bit. It's the way Death Row evolved and some of the changes it made, the evolution of music and hip-hop actually, to me, has slowed down drastically, or in some cases took a wrong turn.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel the same way. I mean, especially because, fans of the Row and just the memories that Death Row gave us back in the 90s, I completely agree about the evolution of it. Just putting out real music just seemed like people don't want to do that no more, in my opinion, to a degree. So I feel like, as a fan, this is needed. But it's always that double-edged sword, too, Mr. Payne, just for the simple fact that, it just takes you back there, but, it makes you think about Tupac, miss that guy, wish he was here. It makes you wish that, everybody was moving in one, as a unit when it came to the music. I mean, Death Row at the time was the first to ever, do certain things, especially a soundtrack off of a actual song from a previous album. They were doing double albums. I mean, it was so much history attached to it. What do you say to the listeners out there that's listening about it's just the catalog? Because that's what I hear a lot. I hear a lot of people say that it's just there. And I kind of tend to disagree, but I want your opinion about what do you think that people say?
Well, right now it is technically just a catalog because we're pulling things out of the vault, and with the exception of Sam Snead's record, we did not put out anything new. So for now, it's just a catalog. But the purpose of that, too, is what people need to understand is we had to reinvigorate the brand. We had to remind people of Death Row and get everything back up to speed at the same time. It gave us time to take care of a lot of the business associated with buying Death Row out of bankruptcy, making sure the contracts were straight and everything was in the right direction. So, again, it stimulated interest in Death Row, so it's just a catalog now, but later on there will be acts added, not necessarily to the Death Row brand, because I personally feel like there's a legacy there, and that legacy belongs to the original artist. Right. We can actually have artists around the name Death Row, but right now I'm not so sure about putting somebody on Death Row. That could change. So for now, it is a catalog while we remind everybody what Death Row was about, what it is, and all of that. There's enough stuff that we can continually remind, but I do think that we also have to evolve into the future with Death Row to give it a sustained life.
There's a rumor, of course, you know how rumors get online about Lil E, Eazy-E's son, in talks with Death Row. Is that true to the rumor, or do you want to just kind of bypass that
that question? As long as it's not personally about someone else. No, Little Easy, we have some labels that we distribute that are part of the Wide Awake Death Row family.
Okay.
We have KP out of Australia. We got the D-Sound Syndicate out of Detroit. And we have Hoopla out of, I believe they're out of Kentucky. And Little E is in talks with them. It would be a distribute record, but it's not on Death Row. A lot of times, people can get a little mileage with the media.
True that.
Moving something around to get money. But I would think people would probably think that if we were signing Easy, then I would be the one that would be making that statement. Or somebody, my name would come up, or somebody's name within the Death Row family. But again, it's nothing against them. Hoopla signs him. We're glad to be associated with him. But he is not being signed to Death Row. So there is a rumor that's incorrect, but there will be an association.
Got you. See, that's good. You can be able to be here on the AM Buzz to kind of clear that up. What are some of the misconceptions that you've heard about not just the catalog and the music of Death Row, but just in general, as far as not just attached to you and the Row, but just in music in general? What are some misconceptions out there that you hear a lot of?
Well, there's a lot of myths and misplaced history that goes on with this label. A lot of things that occurred that didn't occur. A lot of blames been made. But I think one of the most, dominant things that I hear, it actually relates to Tupac and our Tupac album. We have 13 unreleased songs by Tupac that we're able to put out anytime we'd like. But unfortunately, people seem to think that there's some legal dispute going on, or his family is saying no, or they're screwing up. It's all these other misinformation. So I'll correct this right now so people can understand what the status is with our Tupac record. Right now, we're holding it up until we can make sure that all of the bootlegs and everything is cleaned up, because, quite honestly, I want to make sure that when this record comes out, it's marketed and promoted correctly, but I want to make sure that his Tupac's Foundation gets the money, his mother gets what she's supposed to do, Johnny J, all of the other producers, Val Young, who sang on the record, everybody that was a part of this record gets the money, because right now there's so much bootleg stuff out there that the family is not getting it, and people are, people love Tupac dearly, but they'll pay overpriced for a bad copy of a record that doesn't go to him. I think that's unfair. So in the meantime, once we've been actually shutting a lot of things down. Once the smoke clears, the record will come out. The record is good. The record will be good tomorrow. The record will be good next year, quite honestly. So whenever things are right, and I know that we can do the right thing, and people can be paid correctly, and the record can be put out and be the best possible tribute to Pac that we can do, that's when it'll come out. So as far as if anybody wants to blame anybody, you can blame me. I take the full blame for that. It's not his mother. It's not any lawyers. It's not, you throw some names out there, it's not them. Let's just say it's John Payne who wants to do things right. So until then, send me the emails, tear me up in the forum. Okay. Do what you need to do to get through the day and feel better about yourself. So right now.
Well, to me, I understand where you're coming from, John. To me, I feel like, especially if you have the opportunity to put a product out, then you do it to the best of your ability. With the bootleggers and people out there, I mean, to me, I think, especially ever since Tupac passed away, a while ago. I mean, we've all heard the bootleg songs and a lot of the stuff out there. I know one question that some of my staff people had as well was the rights to the original One Nation project. Was that something that was still attached to Death Row and or to Feeney at the time, or can you actually talk about that as far as One Nation? All the original stuff.
Actually, there's some elements that I can't talk about. There's within some of the rights, some of the material belongs to them. Some actually is in a pile that we can pick from. Right now, I would, for just the sake of keeping legal peace,
right.
I would not elaborate on it right now, but I will, and on another date, after there's been some resolution on that, I would be more than happy to talk to you about it. Again,
gotcha.
I said there's really no problems with us in the Afeni camp, the Amaru camp. There's nothing going on there, but there were some pre-existing conditions that pre-existed us, or even throughout the bankruptcy, that really aren't our problems and not a direct problem with us and them, but other people involved. So we have to wait until everything has been cleared all the way around. I mean, right now, quite honestly, there's no bad blood in any of the camps. It's just now that things are actually settled, people can actually work things out and get things done correctly and better. So I think that the time since we purchased a catalog and started doing things right by the artist and the catalog, it's actually helped people all the way around, because everybody's calmed down. Once people start getting their checks, you tend to sleep better, and, there's a little bit more peace, there's less tension. So right now, I think that a lot of things that people want and expect of Death Row, you'll see over the next couple of years. Nothing happens overnight, and everybody wants everything now. Some things are not possible, and also, you wouldn't want to come in and put out everything, the best of everything in the first week, and that's it.
Right, exactly. That's just like playing your hand. That's just like playing your hand too quick, too fast, and you have nothing left to show for it later on. So I completely agree. John Payne is our guest on the AM Buzz, and as a fan, though, let me ask you as a fan, when you think about the One Nation project and what was about to be done with Tupac basically corralling all the people from East, West, and everywhere else to bring that unified front with hip-hop, when you go back in time and you think about an idea such as that, which could have invigorated hip-hop, in my opinion, would have probably brought a new, better way of dealing with a unified front. As a fan, what would you would have expected if that would have ever been released back in the day when a lot of people was looking for it?
What I would have expected, actually, it would have calmed a lot of people. It would have righted a lot of things. Would have fixed a lot of the misconceptions and the problem from the day that actually when Suge stepped on the stage in New York and made that claim, all of that would have been washed. I think that, you know what, this is music, and music shouldn't be like, you know, West Coast or East Coast. It should be whatever's good.
Right.
And, you know, and all these people, a lot of these people were friends before, so I think that what it would have done is reminded people that this is about the music. It can't be personal.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Pac was taking that step, you know, especially since he was, you know, in the middle, really deep entrenched in the middle of all of this, that was, you know what, I think he was one of the people that really needed to take that step, and it was a good step to take. And if people actually realized that even after the fact, after he's gone, the step he was going to take, then some of the misconceptions and some of the animosity that some people still retain, which even though it's 20 years later, to me it's wrong. They should realize that it really was about the music, and once the smoke cleared, it really wasn't the audience's problem, and at the end of the day, there was a problem that was actually put on some of the artists, and they were getting ready to work it out. So I think that right now there's a lesson from that, and I feel good that there was an attempt that was going to be made, even though it didn't get completed. It should have still been a catalyst to remind people that, you know what, a wrong was about to be righted.
Mm-hmm. You can also check out John Payne's website, www.deathrowmusic.com. You can get all your Death Row information, music, clothing, etc., etc. It's everything that you need is on there. You can shop now, do what you have to do. iTunes, Amazon. 20 to Life, which was the Rare and Dangerous Volume 2 release, dropped September 15th. How's everything? How has the reaction to the music that you've dropped won over with the fans? I mean, do a lot of people? Because from what I've seen, you know, it's a little bit of you know, I miss those days of music. You know, this was a good idea, just for the simple fact that we need stuff like this. We need an alternative to what's being heard out there nowadays. What has your reaction been with each release that you've dropped? Case in point with the recent 20 to Life Volume 2.
Actually, with all of the releases, the reaction has been the same. It's been a couple things. One, a lot of people appreciate hearing stuff from the past or things they never heard. And then there's some diehard people that only want, no matter what we put out or do, the response to everything is, where's Tupac? You know, so you have that bunch of people. But my thing is, too, is when we're releasing, I'm trying to remind people of the Death Row Legacy, but also there's other parts of the world that are getting music for the first time or had bootleg copies. So when we do put out a release, it's also not just for the fans here. Death Row does not belong to the West Coast. Death Row belongs to the world. So it's making sure that I have to think fairly. We have to think fairly when we do a release. So it involves everybody. It's for everybody. Otherwise, everything would be from 1992.
Mm-hmm.
If we were really trying to completely cater to the fans. Believe me, I listen to everybody. I take everyone into consideration. But at the same time, we have to consider all coasts. And when I say all coasts, not just in the United States and other countries. We got to, in the middle of the country, we got to consider that. You know, we got to consider retail. There's a lot of factors. So, again, the records have been received well because people buy them. And the good thing about it is, even when there's a complaint, there's always, they can complain, but at the same time, there's going to be 3 or 4 songs that they're going to, between their complaints, they're going to like. But then they'll get back on the complaint. So it's all good, man. You can't please everybody, but at least they get some pleasure out of every release. And you know what? That's good. That works for me.
And I think that's why you have a double-edged sword like this. And I think that's what happens with anything in life that people do. When you do have it makes it more passionate that people have when it comes to Death Row music, because Death Row music meant so much to not just me as a fan, but to other people out there. Because to me, a lot of people thought that should have been the most powerful company still going to this day, as far as, the roster of artists and things like that too. But when you think back then compared to now, do you think Death Row, if let's just say if Death Row Records came out 91, 92, right? And here we are, 2012, with the kind of music that the Row put out back then. Do you think it would have actually changed hip hop again, or do you feel like, the way that the music industry is now so commercialized, people probably wouldn't have paid attention to it like it did back then?
Actually, I think Death Row had the potential to continually evolve based on things I hear in the vault, because there's R&B, there's a lot of different things. But the real problem is that at a certain point, the direction became one-dimensional. So it was like pushing, they're being on the gangster tip is fine, but then when they got into the point where they were pushing, if you left Death Row, let's just attack them. So so it became one-dimensional, and I don't think this was the thinking of the artist. I think this was the format that was given to them. The artists had the talent to branch out and be far more versatile than they were. If they were allowed to be artists and create, the potential, it would have been a tremendous potential, and the evolution would have been amazing, because there's no telling what Death Row would be doing now.
I agree. John Payne, our guest on the AM Buzz. Without saying too much, because I know when you deal with artists that's not attached to said label or anything as far as that goes, can you say the kind of relationships that you do have with some of the members that was on Death Row Records at one time, or do you want to pass on that question?
I have no problem with answering questions, man. A lot of them I actually have very good relations with, because I was there at the beginning. And also, like I said earlier, they're getting royalty checks, so they feel good about things. There's still a few that Death Row has left such a bad taste in their mouth that, it doesn't matter who's at the helm or who's doing what. They're not going to be happy with anything or anybody. And I understand, and I don't blame them. And then there's some others that, that unfortunately are not getting enough attention, so they will grab that attention from wherever they can by sometimes attacking people. But it's okay. For the most part, most of the artists I have a very good relationship with. A lot of them, I run into them in places around the world, and it's all good. It's nothing but love. I ran into Corrupt a couple of weeks ago at the W, and it was every time I see him, it's the same thing. A hug, a smile, and we talk about things. But the first thing he said, even before hello, is, "I got checks." So again, I feel that we were able to do that. So when that's the first thing coming out from his mouth, that lets you know that we've actually done something that needed to have happen.
And knowing Corrupt like I do, I could see him say that. So that's
see, man, I'm getting checks. And my first thing in my head was, what, from us? Kind of thing, but yeah, I knew what he was talking about, and then we went back into our regular conversation, talked about things. We talked about Doggy Bag and just stuff like that. But that's what there's a lot of people. I go out personally. I travel by myself. I go see the artists. I try to get the paperwork straight. I try to work things out. So a lot know that I'm trying. There's a lot out there that would acknowledge that they never expected. First of all, they never expected me to show up personally by myself. I do. Mm-hmm. And we try, I try. My word is very important to me. I like to sleep at night, and I do that very well. So I like to make sure that if I say I'm going to do something, the very least I can do is try. The most I can do is succeed. So this is what's happening. It's a gradual process. Considering we've had the label for almost 4 years now, we fixed a lot of the business, and people are getting paid when they hadn't gotten paid, and some never, and some in 15 plus years. So,
yeah, when you have people like Corrupt, who in a sense is, very cool with everything, paperwork, not just financial, but it's okay, because I remember seeing a quote where he said something to the effect, I don't want to misquote, but he said something to the effect about, it was needed to be released when it comes to just some of the previously unreleased Dog Pound music and things like that. And then you have other people like Danny Boy who's kind of on the fence about it or whatnot. Just in general, when it comes to the artists that had so many different types of music in the vaults, classics that's been kept under wraps, and now it's been out there and put out there. What do you say to the people that's still on the fence about it versus the ones that's pretty satisfied about how things are now?
All right, this is what a lot of the people are on the fence about things. Generally, what it comes down to, a lot of these people actually completely sold their rights. And what they expect a lot of times is to walk in and for me to give them their rights back. I can't do that, because we have an $18 million debt. A lot of times I'll find a way to get them something back. Like when we put out a CD, you give them their artist back. I give them that, give percentages. But a lot of times when they're on the fences, because their problem 9 times out of 10 is not with me or this death row. It's a lot of times it's with the old death row or with Suge. So they're still upset about that, and they want me to give them back the 90s. I can't do that. A lot of times I say, if you want me to give you back your past, I don't see how that's a good thing, because right now the present is kind of sucking.
Very true.
Let's try to fix the present and the future, and the past, since I can't address, let's let that go and see what we can do now. So a lot of times, the problem has nothing to do with us or me. It's the situation they came out of when they were running around having a good time, and unfortunately knew nothing about business or was misled, and they look up today, and what they thought was theirs is not theirs, and they haven't seen a dime. I can understand them being bitter, because if you put out a record and you see your face on it and you think you're not going to get anything from it, I would be bitter too. But we do find a way, to include them in the record. We allow them help with promotion, so there's things like that help to stimulate their career, get the visibility back on them. And like I say, too, we'll always give them their artists, so they get their artist share of the record. And in some cases, if all of the people that worked on the record from a writing standpoint agree that this person was involved, then we can also discuss then giving them, some writer's credit back as well. But you just can't take someone's word for it and go when they come in the door and say, "This is mine." If I try to, the only fair way to do it is discuss with everybody that's involved. So yes, to answer your question, the people that sometimes have a bitter taste, it had nothing to do with us. Unfortunately, we're the only people they have to turn to. So I try to be open and honest with them and try to find a reasonable solution, or let them know if there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. But we still will try to find some reasonable way to help out.
Got you. John Payne is our guest, president of Death Row Records, brought to you by Death Row. Brought to you by DeathRowMusic.com. You can go ahead and pick up his, all things Death Row as far as the catalog that's been released from 20 to Life, from Doggy Bag, clothing, etc. Go to DeathRowMusic.com. And one quick question before I let you go. When it comes to you kind of said this earlier, but for the young artists out there or the people that want to present or put out music and they want you to hear it, not just trying to get a deal or just to kind of see exactly how you feel about the new music going on. Is there a certain place that they can go send emails to as far as not old school, like, I'm going to slide you my demo tape or something like that, but if people actually want you to hear their music, how can they reach you?
All right, before they reach me, there's something I need them to do. I want them to make sure that their business is correct, that if they wrote a song, that they've got this thing copywritten and registered, because not that I would take their song, but when you give your material, send your material in to someone, and it's not registered, and just say if it's good, there's a lot of people out there that would keep it or find a way to use it. So before I give any information on how to send something to me, make sure that your material is protected. All right? Other than that, you can send stuff to info@deathrowmusic.com. But first and foremost, before you even consider that, make sure your music is your own, is protected, or if it's not yours, make sure that there's an agreement with you and that other person, because say you send it to me and I like it, and then you come in and all of a sudden there's somebody else going, but it's not his. I did it. There's a whole, you don't want to come in the door with problems. You want to come in ready to make a very good deal and start a nice career.
There you go. Couldn't put it better myself. That's all for the people out there that's still trying to, get their music heard and stuff like that. I think this man is the perfect sounding board, so to speak, to be able to put that out there. John, I want to not only thank you for coming on to the AM Buzz, but I appreciate the fact that you are giving us a little bit of a blast from the past and giving us some history back when it comes to just not just the catalog and the music of Death Row, but just kind of like the feelings that we get. You know, as passionate fans of music, I need music that's going to help me remember exactly where I come from and what hip hop was. And I think, you know, the in the 90s, Death Row Records had that lightning in a bottle, and I appreciate you for at least igniting that flame so we can get that spark again. And I appreciate the fact that you are continuing to push the catalog and doing it to please the fans of Death Row Records. So I definitely appreciate that.
Well, I thank you, and I'm glad to be here. I also know that, speaking of history, that this Nexxlegacy site that you're on is the 5th anniversary of that, too. So I wanted to say congratulations to everybody involved in this site, and glad you're around, because this is all good for all of us, because it's always good to hear other opinions of people. Also, sometimes it's positive. Sometimes it helps you to let you know that you're doing the right thing, or maybe you need to look at what you're doing. So I'm glad.
No, what you're doing is good because, you know, people can hate it or love it, but, you know, I kind of agree with the quote Corrupt had in a sense, too, where it's just like, you know, this music needs to be put out. It doesn't need to be in the vaults anymore. So, you know, because it does give us a nostalgic type of feel to it. And I appreciate you doing your homework on me, because I appreciate the fact that you did acknowledge 5 years. And I'm real passionate about music and trying to put the right questions and the right songs out there for people to really understand and appreciate and stuff like that. So, you know, from one to another when it comes to, you know, showing that appreciation for the art of music, I can't think of a better person to be able to, you know, kick it with early in the morning on a Monday morning. So I appreciate that.
Well, man, look, I appreciate your time. You had to get up early, too. So it's all,
no doubt.
Be here anytime you want to chat with me, whether it's online or not. It's all good, man.
I have your contact, and definitely I want to thank Sasha as well, and definitely I will make sure that I continue to push and show that support, because, you know, like I said, you always, you know, in anything that you just put out, you take me back to the time where I just really had a passionate love for hip hop. So thank you, Mr. John Payne.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, man, and I want to wish you another 20 years, man. I hope, a matter of fact, 20 years from now, I'm calling in, and from my island resort somewhere by then, but I'll remember you, and I'll remember this day, and Death Row should still be kicking, and you'll be doing exceptionally well, too. So I'm looking forward to another call in 25 years, anytime this year and in the immediate future, but in 20 years as well.
I'll be on your line tomorrow, man. Trust me. We still got stuff to talk about, so I will definitely be in contact.
It's all good. So I truly appreciate your time. I know all my staff and my friends who are listening right now appreciate the time, and as you can see, I really don't run away from questions.
No, you're good, and like I said, that's why you will be a good sounding board. So we will definitely continue, you know, conversating offline as well. And like I said, a lot of respect, and I appreciate it.
It's mutual, man. So thank you for having me, and like I say, anytime, Sasha will give you direct information if she hasn't already, and you know.
Nexxlegacy.